Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Emily Maung-Douglass, and I'm with Louisiana Sea Grant at LSU, and I'm also a member of Gulf Sea Grant's Oil Spill Science Outreach team. Thanks again for coming to the webinar, which is focused on the impacts of oil spills to Louisiana. We're going to be coming at oil spills in Louisiana from a couple of different angles in terms of habitat and animals, but also in terms of human communities. And we're really going to talk about how those two things, while seemingly separate, are actually very intertwined during an oil spill and just in general. So before we get into that, though, I wanted to share just a little bit with you all about the oil spill outreach program that I'm part of that's bringing you this webinar today. I can get my slides to go forward. All right, so as I mentioned, I'm with the Oil Spill Science Outreach Program that Sea Grant has, and that's actually a partnership between the Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative, or GoMRI, and the Sea Grant programs here in the Gulf of Mexico. And that actually came about because of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. As we all know, back in 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill amounted to about 172 million gallons of oil entering the waters of the Gulf of Mexico, and about 1.8 million gallons of dispersant were used in response to the event. This was also the first time that dispersants had been used not only at the surface of the water, but also at depth, at the location of the wellhead, which was about a mile beneath the water's surface. This event was unprecedented, and as you can imagine, there were a lot of scientific unknowns about what would happen to that amount of oil or dispersant in the environment. What would it do to fish and wildlife? And then related questions like, what kinds of impacts would that have on local economies that depend on the Gulf of Mexico? All of those unknowns were swirling, and so funding agencies and research initiatives stepped in to try to fill in those gaps in our knowledge. And the Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative, or GoMRI, was one of those funding initiatives. GoMRI, if you're not already familiar with it, it's a $500 million investment by BP from non-penalty funds. So it's completely separate from the Restore Act, and it is managed by GOMA, the Gulf of Mexico Alliance, and also a 20-member independent research board. GoMRI studies oil spills from different aspects, 5 different aspects, including how the oil and dispersants are transported throughout the environment and what their fate is and how they change chemically and degrade over time, as well as their impact on the environment and wildlife and people and technologies that can be used to study oil spills. In addition to funding the science behind spills, they also have invested funds in outreach efforts, trying to get that information, the scientific information, out to the public. And Sea Grant is one of those outreach investments. So our partnership with GoMRI, so Sea Grant, if you're not familiar with us, we are actually 34 university-based programs. Our mission is to promote and enhance the practical and responsible use of our coastal and marine resources. We're a non-advocacy, so that means that while we don't push specific viewpoints, we do try to provide the best available science on any given topic. And we have more than a 50-year history serving coastal communities in the United States. And we have 4 Sea Grant programs here in the Gulf of Mexico alone. So our Oil Spill Science Outreach Program is actually a 6-member team. You can see here on this, this map, we're all spread out across the Gulf of Mexico. And actually, I would like to give a big shout out to all of my team members that are actually on this, this webinar today, providing technical assistance. And actually, one of my team members is giving a presentation. And we all have different areas of expertise and experience, ranging from things like fishery science and physical oceanography, ecotoxicology, human dimensions. We all work together to try to synthesize the latest oil spill science, and also to translate it from scientific language into layman's terms so that it's accessible for everyone. So we work with a variety of target audiences, both here in the Gulf of Mexico and across the nation as well. As you can see from our list here, it's a wide variety of audiences, but they really fall into one of two categories: those who could use technical information for on-the-job decision-making, or also just those folks who depend on a clean and healthy Gulf of Mexico, but a lot of times fall out of that flow of information. So those are our target audiences, and we've really worked over the past 6 years trying to understand what their oil spill science needs are, what would help them do their jobs better, what would help them sleep better at night. So over the course of the past 6 years of our program, we've talked with several thousand people and taken their oil spill science questions and tried to find the scientific information to answer them. So taking vetted science, meaning peer-reviewed, published journal articles and government white papers, and taken the science from every angle, synthesized it, and then, as I mentioned previously, translated it into layman's terms so that it's accessible for all of our audiences. And we share that information in a variety of ways, things like fact sheets and bulletins and videos, and also webinars like the one that you're at today. And then we bring those back to our target audiences and also share our audience questions with our funding agency. So you can find all of our outreach products available for free and open use on our website. You can see that we have, as I mentioned, bulletins and fact sheets, recordings of our seminars and workshops that we've had, either as in-person events or as webinars as they are now. So you can check those out on our website, gulfseagrant.org/oil spill outreach. And I would like to mention a series of events that we're having in the coming months, actually commemorating 10 years of oil spill science that GoMRI has funded. So we're going to be doing these Decades of Discovery state showcases at different points over the next few months, and they will all be virtual events, and you can register for those now. And we're actually having our very first one on Friday that will be focused on GoMRI science in Texas. So for today's event, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, that we're actually going to be focused on Louisiana and impacts of oil spills to the state. So we're going to start out with talking about impacts to the wetland vegetation and to fish, and then we're going to move into more human-focused impacts, including behavioral and mental health and needs of the communities as well.